In the upscale suburban neighborhood of Ridgewood Estates, where manicured lawns and pristine driveways were symbols of status, Jason Miller prided himself on being an early adopter of sustainable technology. His sleek Tesla Model S wasn't just a car, it was a statement. For Jason, it represented progress, innovation, and a commitment to reducing his carbon footprint. But little did he know that this prized possession would become the center of a bizarre and escalating conflict with the Homeowners Association HOA, led by its iron-fisted president, Patricia Langston. The trouble began innocuously enough, or so it seemed. One crisp autumn morning, Jason received a formal letter from the HOA demanding that he remove his Tesla from the driveway within 48 hours. The reason? According to Patricia, electric vehicles pose a fire hazard due to their lithium-ion batteries, which could allegedly endanger the entire neighborhood in the event of an accident or malfunction. To support her claim, she cited outdated studies and cherry-picked data that had long been debunked by experts. Jason was stunned. Not only was the accusation baseless, but it also reeked of hypocrisy. Just last month, Patricia herself had hosted a block party where she proudly showcased her husband's gas-guzzling luxury SUV, a vehicle far more likely to catch fire than any modern EV. Yet here she was, wielding her authority as HOA president to target Jason under the guise of community safety. Determined not to back down, Jason dug into local regulations and consulted with legal experts specializing in property rights. He quickly discovered that the HOA's demand violated state laws protecting homeowners' freedom to park personal vehicles on their own property. Armed with this knowledge, Jason confronted Patricia directly during a heated HOA meeting. This isn't about safety, he argued, addressing the room full of neighbors. It's about control, and singling me out because my car doesn't fit your idea of what's acceptable. Patricia, however, refused to budge. Used to getting her way through intimidation and manipulation, she retaliated by escalating her campaign against Jason. Anonymous complaints flooded City Hall, alleging everything from noise disturbances caused by phantom engine sounds, a feature Jason didn't even use, to obstructed views of neighborhood aesthetic. Neighbors started receiving flyers urging them to sign petitions against Jason, painting him as a nuisance rather than a respected member of the community. Some caved under pressure, signing without fully understanding the implications. Others remained silent, unwilling to cross Patricia's path. Despite the mounting hostility, Jason refused to give up. He rallied support from fellow EV owners, organized protests, and even reached out to local media outlets to expose Patricia's scheme. Slowly but surely, public opinion began shifting in his favor. People admired his courage and recognized the importance of embracing green technology. Yet, as momentum built, so did Patricia's desperation. In a final bid to break Jason's resolve, she filed a lawsuit accusing him of violating community guidelines and causing financial harm to Ridgewood Estates. The legal battle dragged on for months, draining Jason emotionally and financially. There were moments when doubt crept in, whispering that maybe fighting was futile. But then he'd walk out to his driveway, admire the gleaming curves of his Tesla, and remember why he was doing this. This wasn't just a car. It was a symbol of hope for a cleaner, brighter future. And symbols like that weren't meant to be hidden away. As the trial date approached, Jason prepared himself for whatever lay ahead. He gathered evidence, rehearsed testimonies, and sought advice from seasoned activists. Meanwhile, Patricia doubled down on her efforts, spreading misinformation and rallying allies within the HOA. Tensions reached a fever pitch, dividing the town into two camps: those who supported Jason and those swayed by Patricia's promises of prosperity. One evening, as Jason sat alone in his garage surrounded by stacks of documents and photographs, he realized something profound. This fight wasn't just about saving his Tesla anymore. It was about standing up to bullies like Patricia, people who believed wealth and power gave them the right to trample others' dreams. If he backed down now, it wouldn't just be his loss. It would embolden others like Patricia to prey on vulnerable communities everywhere. With renewed determination, Jason vowed to see this through to the end. No matter how long it took or how hard it got, he would protect his Tesla and teach Patricia a lesson she'd never forget. Because sometimes justice required more than words. Sometimes it demanded action. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation as Jason Miller and Patricia Langston faced off, in what had become one of the most talked about legal battles in Ridgewood Estates history. On one side sat Jason, flanked by his attorney, clutching a folder filled with meticulously organized evidence proving the safety and legality of his Tesla. Across the aisle, Patricia exuded an air of smug confidence, her high-powered lawyer whispering reassurances that their argument would prevail. To anyone watching, it seemed like a classic David and Goliath scenario, but Jason wasn't afraid. He had spent countless nights preparing for this moment, poring over legal documents, consulting experts, and gathering testimony from neighbors who had finally found the courage to speak out against Patricia's tyranny. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Judge Marlene Harper, wasted no time getting the heart of the matter. "Mr. Miller," she began, addressing Jason directly, "your defense hinges on proving that your vehicle complies with all applicable laws and poses no credible threat to the community. Can you provide evidence supporting this claim?" Jason nodded, rising to his feet with steady resolve. He presented a series of documents detailing the rigorous safety standards electric vehicles must meet before hitting the market, including reports from automotive engineers confirming that Teslas are statistically safer than traditional gasoline-powered cars. He also introduced photographs showing how his driveway was well within the boundaries of his property and posed no obstruction to communal spaces. Patricia's lawyer attempted to dismiss these findings, arguing that Jason's Tesla violated aesthetic guidelines set forth by the HOA. He cited vague clauses about maintaining visual harmony and community character, but his arguments lacked substance. When questioned further, he admitted that none of the alleged hazards had ever materialized. The judge raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed. "If there's no tangible threat," she said pointedly, "then what exactly are we debating here?" As the trial progressed, Jason called upon several key witnesses to bolster his case. First was Dr. Emily Carter, a renowned expert in sustainable transportation technologies, who testified that EVs like Jason's Tesla were not only environmentally friendly, but also designed with advanced safety features to minimize risks. Next came Mr. Harold Jenkins, a retired firefighter who lived nearby. He recounted how modern EVs actually burn slower and cooler compared to conventional cars, making them less likely to cause widespread damage during accidents. His testimony struck a chord with the jury, many of whom were visibly moved by his impassioned plea to embrace innovation rather than fear it. But perhaps the most impactful testimony came from Jason himself. Standing before the court, he spoke not as a defendant but as a visionary, weaving together stories of his journey toward sustainability, how switching to an EV had reduced his carbon footprint, saved money, and inspired others in the neighborhood to consider greener alternatives. His voice trembled with emotion as he described the profound connection he felt to his car, not just as its owner, but as its advocate. "This isn't just a vehicle," he concluded, his eyes meeting Patricia's across the room. "It represents progress, hope, and a future worth fighting for." Patricia, however, refused to back down. During her turn to present evidence, she trotted out a parade of Ridgewood Estates residents, each coached to deliver rehearsed statements about how Jason's Tesla detracted from their quality of life. One neighbor complained about the faint hum of regenerative braking. Another griped about the glare from the car's metallic finish. Their grievances sounded petty compared to the weighty issues Jason had addressed, and Judge Harper made no effort to hide her skepticism. At one point, she interrupted Patricia's lawyer mid-question, asking bluntly, "Are these really the stakes we're dealing with here?" Despite Patricia's best efforts, cracks began to form in her carefully constructed facade. A whistleblower within the HOA, a disillusioned board member named Greg, came forward with damning evidence. He revealed that Patricia had falsified records to justify her lawsuit, fabricating complaints and exaggerating costs associated with enforcing arbitrary rules. Worse still, he exposed emails showing that Patricia had secretly negotiated with a luxury car dealership to promote sales of high-end gas-powered vehicles within the community, using proceeds to fund lavish upgrades for Ridgewood Estates. The revelation sent shockwaves through the courtroom, turning public opinion decisively against Patricia. Outside the courthouse, tension simmered as news of Patricia's deceit spread throughout Ridgewood Estates. Protesters gathered daily, holding signs that read, "Save our EVs" and "Shame on Patricia." Local businesses showed their support by donating supplies and offering discounts to volunteers helping maintain Jason's property. Even some Ridgewood Estates residents defected, publicly apologizing for signing petitions they now realized were based on lies. For the first time since the conflict began, Jason felt a glimmer of hope. The tide was turning, and he knew he couldn't let up now. Back in court, the final days of the trial focused on remedies and accountability. Jason's legal team argued that Patricia should be held personally liable for damages caused by her malicious actions, including emotional distress and financial losses incurred during prolonged legal battle. They also proposed a creative solution, requiring Patricia to fund educational workshops promoting sustainable living as part of her punishment. This idea resonated deeply with Judge Harper, who praised it as both restorative and forward-thinking. When the verdict was finally delivered, it was everything Jason had hoped for and more. Not only did the judge rule in his favor, declaring his Tesla fully compliant with all laws and regulations, but she also ordered Patricia to pay substantial fines and oversee a year-long initiative to promote green technology adoption within Ridgewood Estates. As part of her sentence, Patricia would be required to attend monthly seminars on environmental stewardship and participate in community service activities related to sustainability. The ruling sent a clear message. Those who abuse power for personal gain will face consequences. For Jason, victory tasted bittersweet. While he was relieved to have saved his Tesla, the ordeal had taken a toll on him physically and emotionally. Still, he refused to dwell on the hardships. Instead, he channeled his energy into rebuilding, not just his property, but also relationships fractured by Patricia's divisive tactics. He organized EV test drive events open to all Ridgewood Estates residents, inviting former adversaries to join forces in embracing a cleaner, brighter future. Slowly but surely, fences began mending, replaced by shared purpose and mutual respect. Yet, as much as Jason wanted to move forward, he couldn't ignore the lingering question: what next for Patricia? Would this experience humble her, forcing her to confront the harm she'd caused? Or would she double down, clinging to her entitled worldview? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain: Jason had proven that standing up to injustice wasn't just possible, it was necessary. And sometimes justice demanded creativity as well as conviction. The months following the trial marked a profound transformation, not only for Jason Miller and his Tesla, but also for the entire community of Ridgewood Estates. Patricia Langston, stripped of her authority as HOA President and burdened by public shame, found herself at a crossroads. The judge's ruling had been unequivocal. Patricia was ordered to pay restitution, oversee sustainability initiatives within the neighborhood, and attend mandatory educational workshops on environmental responsibility. While the financial penalties stung, it was an emotional toll, the loss of respect from neighbors she once commanded, that hit hardest. For someone who thrived on admiration and control, this fall from grace left her adrift, questioning everything she thought she knew about leadership and community. At first, Patricia approached her court-ordered responsibilities with reluctance. She attended seminars led by Dr. Emily Carter, the same expert who had testified during the trial, sitting stiffly in the back of the room, while others engaged enthusiastically. Her initial skepticism was palpable. She scoffed at discussions about renewable energy and carbon footprints, dismissing them as irrelevant to her life. But over time, something unexpected happened. As Dr. Carter shared stories of communities thriving through green innovation, from solar-powered neighborhoods to EV-friendly infrastructure, Patricia began to see the bigger picture. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, her resistance softened. She started asking questions, taking notes, and even volunteering for hands-on activities like installing charging stations in communal parking areas. Sustainability, it seemed, had a way of humbling even the proudest among us. Patricia's involvement in the EV promotion initiative brought her face-to-face with Jason, the man she had wronged so grievously. Their early interactions were tense, filled with awkward silences and forced pleasantries. Yet, as they worked side by side, organizing test drive events, hosting informational sessions, and planning eco-friendly upgrades, a fragile rapport began to form. Jason, ever gracious, extended an olive branch by sharing insights into the benefits of electric vehicles and offering practical advice on transitioning to greener technologies. Patricia listened intently, realizing for the first time the depth of passion behind Jason's advocacy and the harm her actions had caused. In turn, she opened up about her fears, insecurities, and misguided attempts to assert authority. These conversations, though difficult, became a bridge between two people who might otherwise have remained enemies. As weeks turned into months, Patricia's transformation became evident to those around her. She no longer strutted through Ridgewood Estates barking orders. Instead, she walked softly, listening more than speaking. When asked to lead a subcommittee focused on sustainable development within the HOA, she accepted with humility, vowing to prioritize collaboration over coercion. Her proposals emphasized green infrastructure, such as solar panels for common areas and incentives for residents adopting EVs, earning cautious approval from former critics. Though trust took time to rebuild, Patricia's efforts signaled a genuine desire to make amends. Meanwhile, Jason continued to inspire change beyond his driveway. The EV test drive events he hosted grew into larger festivals celebrating environmental stewardship. Local artisans sold handmade goods crafted from recycled materials. Musicians performed acoustic sets powered by solar energy, and chefs prepared meals using ingredients sourced from nearby farms. These gatherings fostered a sense of belonging, drawing together residents from all corners of Ridgewood Estates. Even skeptics who had once sided with Patricia found themselves won over by the warmth and inclusivity of these events. Jason also spearheaded the creation of a permanent sustainability committee tasked with promoting eco-conscious living across the neighborhood, comprised of diverse voices, including Patricia, who volunteered enthusiastically. The group implemented policies encouraging energy efficiency, reducing waste, and educating citizens about sustainable practices. One of their flagship projects involved transforming an underutilized lot into a vibrant hub featuring EV charging stations, pollinator gardens, and outdoor classrooms where people could gather and connect. This space quickly became a beloved fixture of Ridgewood Estates, symbolizing the community's commitment to renewal and resilience. By year's end, the scars of conflict had begun to fade, replaced by signs of healing and growth. Neighbors who had once avoided eye contact now exchanged smiles and greetings. Children played freely under the shade of newly planted trees, their laughter mingling with birdsong. And at the center of it all stood Jason's Tesla, a gleaming testament to perseverance, forgiveness, and the power of unity. It was no longer just his car. It belonged to everyone who had contributed to its defense. For Jason, the journey had been long and arduous, fraught with challenges that tested his resolve. Yet, looking back, he realized it had also been profoundly rewarding. Saving his Tesla wasn't merely about preserving a vehicle. It was about building bridges, fostering understanding, and proving that even the deepest wounds could heal with time and effort. As he stood beside his car one crisp autumn evening, watching golden leaves drift lazily to the ground, he felt an overwhelming sense of peace. The battle may have ended, but the story was far from over. Together, he and his community had embarked on a new chapter, one rooted in hope, harmony, and the enduring beauty of progress.